Hello there and welcome. This is Mikhail or Michael speaking, and as always, before the video starts, I want to express my eternal gratitude towards those who decided to support me financially, be it through Patreon, PayPal, or Super Thanks. I really appreciate your generosity, so thank you friends and have a blessed day. Today I will break the tradition of starting with Orikhiv front and start with Bakhmut city, or to be more specific, Klishchiivka village. In the last 24 hours, Ukrainian forces continued consolidating their gains within Klishchiivka village, as well as assaulting Russian positions beyond it, in an attempt to take full control of the village once and for all. However, they were unable to do so due to a successful Russian counterattack. That counterattack immediately changed the whole dynamic on this sector of the front line and put Ukrainians on a back foot. This is exactly how much territory Russians were able to recover in that attack. On the other hand, some reports suggest that Russians retreated from northern part of the village and even behind the rail line. Another reports, on the other hand, suggest that Russians re-entered the village, remained control over this portion of it, as well as re-entered the center of the village, and the battle for it has restarted. As I speak, Russians continue to counterattack in this sector, not allowing Ukrainians within Klishchiivka to safely regroup, and perhaps more territorial change will come tomorrow. Village of Andreevka still remains in the gray zone. Ukrainians have not entered it, and the Russians had not made any attempts at reclaiming it. All Ukrainian attacks in the direction of Zelenopilya and Kurdyumovka were repelled by the Russian forces. Before we move on, please consider smashing that like button as well as commenting and subscribing if you haven't subscribed yet. For you, it's just a few clicks. However, for me, it means everything. Not only does it help videos to gain more views and recognition, it also helps me emotionally and motivates me to work harder. Thank you in advance, and let's continue. Our next stop would be Orikhiv front, and first let's discuss situation within Rabotino village. Ukrainians continue to use it as a staging point for further attacks in the direction of Novoprokopivka. These attacks are mainly coming directly from the village, and as a result of these attacks, Ukrainians were able to advance ever slightly here in this area where a trench line is located. After all, it would seem Ukrainians have now gained full control over this trench, which will allow them to attack further on. Ukrainian army continued their advance here in this area as well. They were assaulting in the general direction of the village of Novoprokopivka, as well as in attempt to strike Russian positions to the rear and flank and start attacking Novoprokopivka itself. In the last 24 hours, Ukrainians also attempted at spreading their zone of control within this general area in front of the first Russian line of defense. However, there are no territorial changes that I can confirm here in this area, so it is safe to say that Ukrainians were unsuccessful in that endeavor. From here, let's move to the settlement of Verbova. Ukrainian attacks in its direction continued as Ukrainians continue to slowly but surely expand their zone of control beyond anti-tank ditch and Dragon Teeth that is located, as you can see here. To this day, there is no evidence to suggest that Ukrainians were able to successfully transfer any of infantry fighting vehicles or tanks over those defensive obstacles, and all Ukrainian attacks coming in the direction of Verbova consists of infantry. Geolocated videos with drone strikes show that Ukrainians continue to hold on to this trench line along this road and that they continue to use it as a staging point for attacks in the direction of Verbova. On an interesting note, there are reports that suggest that after Ukrainians consolidated their troops in this area, so beyond the Dragon Teeth line, they assaulted Russian trench lines that are standing in between Ukrainian forces and the village of Verbova. At this point in time, there is no reason to suggest that the line was breached, and currently there is a battle ongoing in this sector. Then I have an interesting video that is being taken somewhere around this area here. This video is of a failed Ukrainian attempts at delivering troops to the zero line, or perhaps even to the trenches here. And in the video you can see one of the infantry fighting vehicles on fire, while another one is standing motionless and would seem to be damaged. I will trim this video as much as possible so there will be no infantry showing, because again, YouTube doesn't really like it. Generally speaking, this is the current situation on the front, as Ukrainians are attempting at delivering platoons of soldiers to the zero line via infantry fighting vehicles. Russian drones, ATGM crews, and artillery are inflicting heavy damage on the advancing Ukrainians, which again hinders Ukrainian ability to successfully attack in the direction of Verbovo or even storm Russian trenches. From here, let's move to the Vremivka tactical bridgehead and discuss the situation here. Like I said in a previous video, Ukrainian attacks in the direction of Priyutne and from Rivnopol mostly consists of infantry and in very small numbers. Same could be said about Ukrainian attacks from Staromayorsky and Urozhaine in the general attempt of reaching Zavetno Bazhanye. This is mainly due to the fact that Ukrainians had recently redeployed some of their troops from this area to the other flank of the Lech and with more force assaulted Russian positions on it. These attacks came in the general direction of Keremenchik, settlement of Novodonetsky, as well as village of Novomayorsky. Let's discuss the situation with Novodonetsky first. Here, Ukrainians were assaulting Russian forces within the village of Novodonetsky itself from Zlotaniva, as well as trying to attack to the flank and rear of Russian positions within the village in attempt to penetrate Russian defensive lines and cut off supply and reinforcements to the settlement. At the time of researching this information, most of the Ukrainian attacks had already stopped due to the fact that all the previous attacks failed. Then from Novodonetsky, let's move to Novomayorsky and discuss the situation here. In the last 24 hours, Ukrainians fruitlessly attacked in the direction of the village in attempt to re-enter it. However, recent report suggests that they were unable to do so and Russian defensive lines held. There is another video that I have for you which is located on this front, which shows a column of 2 Ukrainian infantry fighting vehicles advancing on the road. As you can see, the road is already full of destroyed or damaged Ukrainian equipment. At some point, one of the infantry fighting vehicle is hit, and the driver in the other one saw the fate of that vehicle and decided to retreat. Then from here, let's quickly visit the settlement of Avdiivka and quickly touch on the situation here. In the last 24 hours, it was mostly Ukrainians who were assaulting. These assaults came in the direction of Krasnogorovka, Vesely, and Kamyanka, as well as Vadiane and Apitne. There were also reports of Ukrainian attacks within Pervomaisky. The most interesting portion of this front remains to be village of Apitne. If you remember in the last video, I reported that Ukrainians entered the village and initiated the battle for it. However, recent reports suggest that Ukrainians were counterattacked and driven back. Then from here, let's move to the other portion of the front where changes had appeared, and it happened near the city of Solidar. As a result of offensive operations, Ukrainians were able to advance from Razdalivka in the general direction of Mykolaivka and Krasnopolivka. Here on this picture, you can see exactly how much territory Ukrainians were able to recover in that attack. Then from here, let's quickly visit Liman-Kremenna front. Ukrainians continued their attacks in the attempt to close off this Russian-controlled salient. These attacks came from the village of Terny as well as Yampolivka. Then there were direct assaults here from the village of Zarichne, as well as attacks from Torske. Ukrainians also attacked in the direction of Dibrovo and assaulted Russian positions within Serebryansky forest. Russians, on the other hand, did not give Ukrainians a chance at gaining initiative and counterattacked as well, which did not allow Ukrainians to gain any territories in the last 24 hours. Russians too were unable to gain any territory. Then from here, let's visit Kupiansk front. It's been a long time since I've been here and reported on it. First, let's touch the situation near Liman Pershi and Sinikivka. The recent report suggests that Russians were able to advance within this forest from the village Liman Pershi itself, and as a result of that were able to recover this much territory from the Ukrainian side. Here you can see that on this picture. Then Russians also attacked all across this field from the settlement of Velshana. Again, it doesn't seem like they are interested in entering Sinikivka, and generally the fighting on this front had turned into positional style warfare. Russian attacks also came from the settlement of Pershatravny in the direction of Petropavlivka and a very important road, as well as there was some limited fighting within the villages of Kotlerivka and Kislivka. With this, I end today's video. I hope it was to your liking. If it was, you know what to do. As always, humanity calls me to condemn all violence against human beings. Have a good day and always remember, Russia will be free and great.